Welcome to another edition of Forecast Lab. Dealing with another severe weather day in the central U.S., let's take a closer look at that. Now, some of you may have seen that composite map on the thumbnail and you thought, oh, that looks pretty interesting. So why don't we take a quick look at that? This is non-standard markings. I don't have the full set programmed yet. This is a work in progress, but it'll show you some of the key fields we were looking at. This marking right here, that's reserved for the cross totals index. Of course, that's 50-year-old guidance, but in this case, I reserved it for the SRH field. So that's the maximum SRH this afternoon and early evening. The maximum extent of the theta E field right here, so the better moisture and instability down in here. Also, we have the 850 millibar flow, the moisture axis right in that area there from Houston up to western Arkansas. The upper level jets located pretty far to the west, and the forecast area of thunderstorms basically right there in that striped box. So here's what we're looking at currently on the radar. This is going to change, and we're going to show an update later in the program. But these storms have just formed. They're becoming tornadic. We've got numerous tornado warnings all the way from, I think, around Idabel all the way down through Sulphur Springs and into the Canton-Athens area. Further to the south, haven't seen as much development, and the models actually did capture this trend fairly well. And you can see that most of this activity is right there in that moderate risk zone. All right, we take a look at the synoptic scale picture. We have an active southern stream system, strong thermal troughing through the southwestern states, although surface temperatures are still in the 60s and 70s. But we're expecting some wintry weather this weekend in parts of New Mexico and West Texas. Further to the east, closer to the tropical moisture, we've got a couple of waves along this frontal boundary. And the polar front itself, that's where we find the thunderstorm activity this afternoon. A quick check of weather around the country, the northeastern U.S. Cool once again, but it has warmed up in northern New England. Temperatures range from the 50s up there to the 80s in Virginia, looking for a high of 86 at Richmond. Winter weather advisory once again for Saturday into early Sunday for northern New Hampshire into western Maine. Mixed precipitation with up to 1 inch of snow. Ice is possible above 2,000 feet. And we have a wind advisory on Lake Champlain in the Burlington, Vermont area. That's going to be for tomorrow into tomorrow night. South winds gusting to 50 miles an hour. On the Great Lakes, they continue their stretch of cool weather, widespread 40s in the northern Great Lakes to the 50s in the southern Great Lakes and Midwest. Further south in Kentucky, we pick up 80s, marking the location of a front. And there it is. I saw in Kentucky the forecast highs for today. They did have widespread 80s, but temperatures right now mostly in the 70s. But the front, yeah, we can definitely see that. That's running roughly about like this, 60s and 70s to the north and down in the south, temperatures close to 90 degrees. And that's a look at the weather down there, definitely in the tropical sector. We do have a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms for most of Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, and the Arklatex, basically this entire region right here. Thunderstorms already underway, large anvils blooming from northeast Texas into the Ozarks. Tornado watches are in effect for most of western and central Arkansas into east Texas. Northern Mississippi and central and western Tennessee, they are under a flood watch through Sunday morning, and we have wind advisories all along the Texas coast, all the way to Gulfport, New Orleans. They're looking for south winds gusting to 45 miles an hour as we get that strong onshore flow. In the southern plains, cold front extending from the Ozarks to just south of Dallas and to just west of San Antonio. Cold air was filtering south through the Texas Panhandle and West Texas, highs in the 50s there. As mentioned, tornado warnings out around Arkansas into East Texas. And we do have a winter storm warning for Amarillo, Plainview, Levelland, northwest to Clovis and Clayton, right up to the Sacramento Mountains and the Sangre de Cristos. So basically this entire area right there. 3 to 6 inches of snow, blowing snow expected, with near blizzard conditions. I would not be surprised to see a blizzard warning issued, though currently that's not on the cards. Winter weather advisory surrounding that all the way down towards Tahoka, Plains, Post, Dickens, Childress, and right along the Caprock, 1 to 3 inches of snow possible. And I'm not really sure if I was clear about that, but that winter storm warning and winter weather advisory, that was for tonight and tomorrow. Further north, a cold day across the northern plains, highs in the 30s in North Dakota, 40s from the western Great Lakes into Colorado, and 50s elsewhere. In the southwestern region, we get closer to that thermal trough. You can see some spin in the cloud field, looking about like this, kind of a spiraling appearance. That's going to be that upper level low, very broad thermal trough, upper level low, and that's representing the cold air through the lower and mid-troposphere that has a strong reflection in the upper levels. And cold advection cumulus and stratocumulus, most of that is diurnal in nature. That tends to dissipate as we lose heating, and we'll see that redevelop once again for tomorrow across the Rockies. This will give you a better look at our areas of concern. You can see I-40 is not going to be a good idea this weekend. Your better alternates are going to be down to the south, US 82 or Interstate 10. This has just come out. I think that's going to be it's a freeze watch late Saturday night through Sunday morning, looking for temperatures down to 23. Wind advisory through the Rio Grande Valley late tonight, Saturday, basically this area right here, due to gusty northeast winds up to 50 miles an hour, blowing through the passes and into the valley floor there. No problems for the Southwest Deserts, Great Basin, or West Coast area. Just some small craft advisories off the Central California coast for tonight. And nothing much to report for the northwestern U.S. A beautiful day. Temperatures warming up to 64 at Seattle and 70 in Portland. The interior remained cool with temperatures in the 50s and low 60s. And then we move west into the Pacific. Well, there's another cold front lurking off the coast. That's got quite a deep low there in the Gulf of Alaska, down to 974 millibars. Strong southerly flow battering the southern coast of Alaska. Temperatures quite warm, up into the 40s south of Anchorage. Fortunately, no big weather problems. Most of those are going to be on the southwestern Alaska coast. We have a blizzard warning through late tonight, 2 to 5 inches of snow possible, 55-mile-an-hour winds, and a winter weather advisory extending into the north. Oh, thunder. Okay. Yeah, we're out in Texas. We're right there in that, well, we're not in the moderate risk, but we're in the slight risk. So, yeah, I guess it's picking up there. Anyway, yeah, blowing snow. 30-mile-an-hour winds through tonight and up to 2 inches of snow. Canada is free of hazards. Haven't seen that in a long time, and they need it after that week of ice storms in Ontario and Quebec. Good to see that they're getting a chance to recover and get their power back on. So let's step through all the different levels and see what's happening in this wild and mysterious atmosphere. 850 millibars, this is about 5,000 feet. This is the early afternoon chart, so this meshes well with the data we've been showing. Low pressure area at 850 millibars around Tulsa, another low possibly around Kerrville, 850 millibar front like that. So that's going to extend a little bit more into the cold air compared to the surface features. Low level jet, that looks like 40 knots right from Beaumont up to Shreveport and to Little Rock. So if you want to get a sounding, Little Rock, Shreveport, those are going to be good choices. If it was the 70s and 80s, you would probably be using Longview instead. We go up to 700 millibars. That's going to be about 10,000 feet up. We do pick up what looks like a hybrid of the low-level jet and also the polar front jet, which we'll see shortly. And there it is, about 55 to 60 knots across western Arkansas, and that's pretty close to that moderate risk area. And we look at 500 millibars, about 18,000 feet. We see the Q vectors. This is telling us that the stronger lift is actually well to the west, just weaker lift transiting the area. And very likely we're weakly capped and we don't have a whole lot of forcing. If we did have a whole lot of forcing, we would probably have a continuous squall line instead of these discrete cells. You can look at this since I have it on the lineup. This is the precipitable water looking about 1.5 to 2 inch. That's almost tropical. And over the next 24 hours, we're going to see that move up into the central Mississippi River Valley. And looks like another flow northward, another surge into East Texas, maybe recharging things for the Shreveport area for tomorrow. And again, for the heck of it, there's the IVT. It's going to be the integrated vapor transport, the atmospheric rivers, and certainly that's underway in the very same areas we pointed out. You can see the new surge very clearly coming up into East Texas in the morning and then shifting eastward during the afternoon. And we'll just take a quick look at Sunday. More of a meager atmospheric river, but it's still there. IVTs anywhere from 700 up to 1,000. Okay, lost my place there, so the map's shifted around a little bit. But there's that large trough there in Arizona formed by that massive cold air down below 18,000 feet. Polar front jet arcing around that trough into West Texas. And the flow actually pretty broad. Still got 70 knots across southern Oklahoma into the Ozarks. And there's 300 millibars looking at about 100 to 110 knots. Polar front jet, and gradually over the next couple of days that'll shift eastward very slowly. Actually, here's a pretty good negative tilt trough right there that'll be affecting this area, Arklatex, Louisiana, and gradually the whole enchilada moves eastward. Wow, look at that up there in the northeastern U.S. up to 180 knots. So probably a very windy day Monday on Mount Washington. Here's a quick look at what things look like outside. This is the tail end storm, probably going to produce severe warnings or tornado warnings for the Tyler, Texas area. And you were getting a look at this storm right here, which is organizing and moving towards Tyler. These other cells are mature. They've all got tornado warnings on it. And this one here near Clarksville, that is spotter confirmed. Yeah, 8 miles south of Clarksville, moving northeast. And gradually all this is going to move into the Texarkana and western Arkansas area. Matches up very nice with that moderate risk. Okay, we'll go ahead and go into that forecast now. This is the current evening conditions, and there's that surge of cold air coming down through Colorado into the Panhandles. So overnight, looking like this, you can see that winter storm starting to set up across eastern New Mexico and the Panhandles, going full force by 7 a.m. And this polar front continues to be busy through tomorrow. We have an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms in the lower Mississippi River region, covering much of Louisiana, East Texas, northwestern Mississippi, and southeastern Arkansas, basically in that warm sector right there. All hazards possible, a tornado risk, especially in northern Louisiana and southeastern Arkansas. And the heat pushes north up there into West Virginia, and Virginia itself looking for widespread 80s there. Charleston, West Virginia could reach 88 degrees. Contrast that with this blizzard in West Texas. So it is springtime and lots of interesting weather to see here. So the rest of Saturday looking like this. Gradually that frontal system pushes east. Strong cold advection through central and eastern Texas. And then by Sunday, we're looking like this. Very busy in the deep south and southeastern U.S. Widespread storms across western Georgia, including Atlanta, southeastern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle. Not looking for any major severe weather, but a few tornadoes are still possible given the modest instability. Cold weather invades the rest of the eastern U.S., still hanging on to 80s through the Carolinas into Virginia, 90s in central Florida. Then we're going to see some of this cold air come south through the Great Lakes. Going into Monday, there it is, strong cold advection through Michigan, the Great Lakes, and gradually by Tuesday into the northeastern U.S. And we'll start to see the heat out there in the southwestern deserts, also warm in Texas with this downslope flow. And by Thursday, we're going to be seeing temperatures near 100 in parts of the southwest desert. There's some more thunder right there. Anyway, yeah, Alberta Clipper coming through the Great Lakes, and we'll take you through the rest of the sequence, and we'll get back to that weather here. Looks like it's getting active once again in the Pacific for mid-April. There's a strong system there, more snows in the Sierras, and that's going to be the last frame I have. Deep 995 millibar low off of Oregon. Severe thunderstorms continue as we prepare to close this out. One tornadic storm east of Clarksville. Another one looks even more potent. This is going to be north of Tyler, out around Hawkins and Big Sandy. That appears to have a confirmed tornado, well, radar confirmed. Not sure if we have any reports on the ground from this. Has a little bit of a bow echo structure. Look at that, kind of a convex signatures there. And the tailwind storm, no severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings on that yet. Tops, though, well above 50,000 feet, so the severe weather potential is there. But analyzing through the vertical, yeah, they're still in the process of organizing maybe a little bit of overhang. They are standing up pretty tall and straight against that 100-knot upper-level flow. So that right there is a indicator that they're at least in the strong category range. Further down the line, not really any activity going on. We animate this and look at the trends, and, well, we are continuing to generate these shallow cells, but none of them organizing at this time. And checking out conditions up there in Arkansas, Missouri. I do apologize. I've not really been able to follow that because we've been busy down here with this severe weather. And of course, our internet was out for 6 hours this morning, which put me behind the curve. So I haven't really had a chance to really feel this out here. But you can see an increase in all this activity going into the evening hours, numerous cells. Some of them probably producing bow echoes, maybe a few isolated cells, anywhere from the Boot Heel, West Plains, all the way down towards Little Rock. And gradually we should see the severity subside going into tonight as the effects of heating diminish and the theta E values start ramping down. And this looks very linear here across the Interstate 30 corridor towards midnight. Looks like a second line gets going out here, and that's probably due to a strengthening of the low-level jet. That complex will move during the morning hours across much of North Texas and lay down a boundary, which could be important as we get regeneration later during the afternoon. Okay, one last check before we wind this down, looking at the Fort Hood radar. Austin, San Antonio, we animate this, and you can see that cold front moving south at about maybe 5 or 10 miles an hour. Northwesterly flow on one side, southerly flow on the other, and very lackluster development of cells south of Interstate 20. North of Interstate 20, a different story. Here's Shreveport, here's Dallas, Texarkana, and off the top, it's going to be Little Rock way up there. We've got two main cells. This one looks pretty potent, and we look at the storm relative velocity. That has a well-developed supercell appearance, a strong mesocyclone. And let's gauge those winds. We've got 67 in and 61 out. So that's going to be about 125 knots of shear across that volume. That's probably about 4 or 5 miles in diameter. So I don't see anything immediately that looks like a tornado, but certainly that cell is spinning like a top. And there it is. There's the inflow into that storm. And that's tracking just south of Pittsburgh, and it'll be up in the Dangerfield and Omaha area later. And here's the cell on the Red River. This has a appearance of a classic line echo wave pattern. There's the inflow area into that storm. We look at the velocity on that. Of course, we are sampling it up at 8,000 feet or so. Don't see any strong rotation along that, but That's kind of a generalized area of rotation right there, just west of that notch. And that's all I have for this episode, so I leave it all in your hands. Hopefully this is some good information to get you started on what's happening today. This footage is not from today. This is just kind of fitting the theme of thunderstorms. So enjoy, and hopefully we'll see y'all back here on Monday for the supporters and on Wednesday for everybody else. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.